He was a church president, a Boy Scout leader, a devoted husband and father, a city compliance officer, and for 30 years, he was also a serial killer. This is the story of Dennis Rader, the man the world knew as BTK. December 1973, Wichita, Kansas. A man sits inside a public library, flipping through a phone directory. He's not looking for a job. He's not looking for an address to mail a letter. He's looking for a family he has already chosen. Her name was Julie Otero, 34 years old, a mother of 5. He used to work alongside her at the Coleman factory, assembling camping stoves on the same line day after day. She never noticed him, but he noticed everything about her. He called it trolling, driving slow circles around her neighborhood, watching which car she drove, what time she left for work, what time her husband came home. For weeks, he learned her life better than her own family knew it. One morning, he followed her car as she dropped her children at school. He didn't approach, he didn't speak. He simply watched, committing every detail to memory: the route, the timing, the empty minutes when the house would be quietest. In his bag, he carried what he called his hit kit: rope, tape, a knife, a gun, items collected slowly, deliberately, over weeks, never enough at once to draw suspicion. Every object had a purpose. Nothing was improvised. January 15th, 1974. A cold Tuesday morning. He told his own family he was leaving early for work. Instead, he drove straight to the Otero house. He believed the house would be empty by 8 a.m. He was wrong. He cut the phone line before stepping inside. He was prepared for an empty house. Instead, he found Joseph Otero still home, his 9-year-old son, Joey, still in his pajamas. The plan was already falling apart, and yet he didn't run. He told them he was an escaped convict. He needed money, a car, food. His voice was calm, almost polite. The family believed him and did exactly what he asked. They let him tie their hands. They thought it would be over soon. Then something shifted. He later admitted, once inside, once in control, he lost himself in the moment he had been imagining for years. The bag went over Joseph Otero's head first, then his son's. The family realized too late this was never about money. Julie Otero begged him to stop, pleaded for her children's lives. He didn't answer her. He had already moved past hearing her. In his mind, this moment belonged only to him and to the 11-year-old girl still waiting in the next room. He led Josephine down to the basement, told her she would see her family again in heaven. She didn't understand. She was 11. By the time she understood, it was already too late. When it was over, he didn't run. He walked through the house calmly. He took a watch, a radio, small trophies, souvenirs to relive the moment later. Then he gathered his tools and walked out the front door like nothing had happened. He drove the family's own car to a grocery store parking lot and left it there. Then he realized he'd left his knife behind in the backyard. So he turned around, drove back to the house, walked past the bodies of the family he had just killed, and calmly picked it up. That afternoon, 15-year-old Charlie Otero came home from school. He thought his parents were playing a joke when his siblings called him into the bedroom. He was wrong. In one morning, an entire family had been erased, and the killer was already back at his own house, eating breakfast with his wife. For 9 months, Wichita searched for answers. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no motive anyone could understand. The killer stayed silent, not because he felt guilt. He was simply waiting, building patience for what came next. October 1974. A phone rang at the Wichita Eagle newsroom. An anonymous voice told an editor to check a specific page in a specific book at the public library. Inside, hidden between the pages, was a letter, written by the killer himself. The letter described the Otero murders in chilling detail, details only the killer could have known. He called himself a monster. He warned there would be more victims. And at the bottom, he signed 3 letters that would haunt Wichita for the next 3 decades. BTK. BTK. Bind them, torture them, kill them. He had given himself a name, and with it, a kind of fame he had always craved. This wasn't a confession born from guilt. It was an announcement, a promise. He told them, in writing, that he would do it again. 3 months after the Oteros, he was already watching his next target, Kathryn Bright, 21 years old. He'd seen her once, walking into her house, and that was enough. He gave her a code name, the way he gave all his victims one. Project Lights Out. April 4th, 1974. He broke in through the back sliding door, expecting an empty house. He waited inside, hidden, for Kathryn to come home. But she wasn't alone. Her 19-year-old brother, Kevin, walked in right behind her. He told them he was a wanted man, that he just needed money and a car. A lie he had used before. It had always worked. This time, it wouldn't. Kevin Bright didn't believe him for a second. He forced Kevin to tie his own sister to a chair. Then he tied Kevin. But this family fought back. Kevin worked his hands free and lunged. For the first time, BTK was no longer in control. He shot Kevin twice in the head. Kevin should have died. He didn't. Bleeding, barely conscious, he ran from the house and found help. His sister was not as fortunate. Kathryn was stabbed 11 times. She fought until the very end. For the first time, he had a witness, a survivor. Kevin Bright could describe his face, his voice, his height, and yet, somehow, it still wasn't enough. The trail went cold again. He simply vanished back into his ordinary life. March 1977. 3 years of silence. He told himself he was finished, but the hunger always came back. He chose his next target, a young mother named Shirley Vian. He gave the operation a name, a date with destiny only he could see. He posed as a detective to get through her door. Inside, her 3 young children were playing. He held a gun on them, calm, controlled, and locked them in the bathroom. Then he sat with Shirley, gave her a glass of water, lit a cigarette, let her believe, just for a moment, that she might survive this. Her 6-year-old son watched through the keyhole of that bathroom door. He saw enough to never forget it. Shirley Vian never had a chance. But she gave her children one. They survived. He left them alive and walked away. December 1977, 9 months later. He had a new name picked out for his next target, Nancy Fox, 25 years old, working 2 jobs, living alone. He had been watching her for weeks, learning the rhythm of her empty apartment. He cut her phone line, broke in through the back, and waited in the dark for her to come home. When she walked through her own front door that night, he was already standing there, calm, patient, and not alone in the dark anymore. He strangled her with her own belt. As he did, he leaned close and told her exactly who he was. He wanted her to know his name in her final moments, even though she had never known it in life. The next morning, on his way to work, he stopped at a payphone, reported the murder he had committed himself, gave them the address, then hung up the phone and went to install a security alarm, the same job that let him study locks for a living. Months later, a letter arrived at a local newspaper, a mocking poem titled, "Ode Death to Nancy." He wasn't just killing anymore. He was performing. And his audience, an entire city living in fear, was exactly what he wanted. Then, silence. For 13 years, BTK disappeared completely. No letters, no bodies, no trace. Investigators assumed he was dead or locked away for some other crime. They were wrong. He was simply waiting for the world to forget him. And it almost did. January 2004. 30 years after his first kill, a local newspaper published an anniversary story on the unsolved Otero murders. He read it and felt something he hadn't felt in over a decade: the urge to be remembered. Over the next year, he sent letter after letter, packages, photographs, stolen souvenirs from murders decades old, each one a taunt, each one a piece of evidence he was certain could never be traced back to him. He believed he was untouchable. That belief was about to destroy him. He asked police one simple question: could a floppy disk be traced back to him? They lied, told him it was safe. He believed them completely, because in his mind, he and the lead detective shared a strange kind of respect. He was wrong about that, too. Inside that disk was a deleted file he thought was gone forever, a church meeting agenda, last edited by a user named Dennis. One search later, police found his name: president of the church council, a man hiding in plain sight for 31 years. February 25th, 2005. He was driving home for lunch with his wife when the police cars surrounded him. An officer asked if he knew why he was being taken downtown. He simply said, "I have suspicions why." 31 years of silence ended in one sentence. Dennis Rader once said the difference between him and anyone else wasn't intelligence. It was something he called Factor X, a darkness he believed he was simply born with. Maybe he was right. Or maybe the truth is far more disturbing, that the most dangerous people are not the ones who look like monsters. They're the ones who sit beside you in church and you never even notice.